a tremendous amount of NBA experience. Yep. And I believe that is something that helps him recruit guys and letting them know that he can get them to the next level.
Coach Seth Greenberg, that's your guy right there on the first.
The ups and downs, you know, who I am when tough gets hard, when times get hard, and who I am when times are great. I mean, I think we got an up roller coaster.
It's going to be really interesting to see the way that he improves over the next few years. His personality arguably might be his best trait. The coaching staff at Duke, they just consistently rave about him as a human being, the way that he lives.
Three, there's a more comfort level as far as where his stroke is. He knows who he is. He's a rim protector, shot blocker, finisher here, but he knows that he just can't be one-dimensional there. He needs to.
Milwaukee with Scott Skiles and Jim Boylan and Joe Wolf and Lionel Hollins. Learning from those guys, you know, just sometimes just be quiet and listen and learn. Different ways to guard a pick and roll. I remember my first day with the Spurs were getting ready to play New Orleans with, they weren't the Pelicans then, the New Orleans, whatever they were, but Chris Paul was the point guard, the Hornet. Coaches, J.B. Bickerstaff with Detroit and Chris Finch with Minnesota, we were all on the same staff together. And we'd sit around and spend all our afternoons just talking.
It's not an easy decision for both sides here.
Well, that's the thing I think is interesting. We're talking about so many different names. We've mentioned Kevin Durant during this. What happens with Trae Young?
Stanford degree. That is important. And again, that's important to his mom, Vanessa. And you got to be very careful what you say about Maxime.
Criticism in his length. To me, Derek Lively, Malawatch, two guys are going to be impact players for a long time in the NBA.
And I have to praise you as I have.
Shoot it from deep. Despite his size, he can finish around the basket. But I do think his size comes into play because he lacks some of that elite level athleticism that you saw with other players with similar size, as well as being small. And then he can get targeted at the defensive end of the floor. And I think that's where you look at it and say, okay, how can he impact that game at the next level? That's one of the areas that he has to figure out an answer to for make a general manager and a front office have confidence.
Yeah, because shooting is not an issue. 83.3%.
Could have went one or two ways.
Yeah.
The one way we're seeing right now is as far as a close game, or the other way where it's going to be a 20-point blowout, and we're going to see a lot of guys.
And that's the experience that I'm talking about. Because again, you know, we didn't all follow mid-major basketball, but you come here and show that you're just as good or better than all the high major guys coming in, and they have that both fall in that category for the Pacers. So. Again, I agree with the 8 really good players, but you got to have that guy that can win you a game or two on their own in a 7-game series. And Giannis is absolutely that, and which is why I believe all teams will be calling and trying to figure out
to fit roles. All right, they're pieces. They're 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. They're trying to earn a roster spot, which means they need one transferable skill that can earn them that roster spot.
Go towards more big. We saw in that Houston Golden State series where Houston puts out Steven Adams and Alperen Sengun. So I think there's more of a role for bigs than they were in the past here. I think a lot of it, I think the reality is most of these guys are going to come in and you're going to school to college. They were the best player in high school. Now you're not going to be the best player in college. It's kind of the simple
chance to improve on some of the things you hear while you're here, to get better tape out there, have executives see that you've improved your game. Like if you told a guy positionally or how he impacts it, when you watch the way he plays and how he can get to his shot so consistently and with such great ease,
I don't think it's a good number for a big guard, big wing.
But wingspan?
Yeah.
To see how guys are going to respond. Of course, as you're coaching at the many different stops that you've had, especially at Virginia Tech, and you're playing at the ACC level, you always...
This is the option that we're going to make available for you. And he took the option that was available to him from the team that he felt he could go have his best opportunity to potentially find his way on the court in the NBA.
My arm length and my hand size and, you know, my height and stuff. But what I could control on the court, you know, whether it be the vertical jump, the three-quarter court sprint.
Who would you like to say, you know, I'd like to take this piece of this guy's game, or I'm basically molding my game after this?
About how explosive he is. Doesn't turn 19 until October. He's great at downhill. He drew fouls at a very elite level this year. Inconsistencies from beyond the arc.
Team Delmer Son is on the board. They got a bucket from Mackenzie Mbako, who was outstanding.
Kind of come over.
Whoa, you're telling me that FIBA is saying that these young players would have to get clearance
Well,
to
because
come
you're
in
coming,
and roll.
it depends on what your contract is over there.
So if you have a contract, friends and family flying on Southwest Airlines. I mean, it sounds silly, but how will you handle that learning experiences on your journey to be this elite player in the league?
Yeah, definitely. I think the G League spot beside Rob Wright at the point guard position, his production skyrocket.
Yeah, it did.
You know, and again, and Scott Drew, who was one of the best that we have. And
From the time my brother got there, when he was done, to the time I got there was, I mean, truly amazing. So, I mean, just giving up is not something like we do in the Harper family. I mean,
Drafted in the lottery, something Dylan and Dad Ron will have a chance to do, will do in about a month.
yeah, so we know that. We know that's part of your thing.
And he gave you guys 30 seconds to do it.
Janai Broome played 40 games this year against very high-level competition. We know what we need to know about Janai Broome. He also played at this NBA Combine last year and 2 years ago. So, I mean, I think NBA teams have made up their